The traffic lights bled across the windshield as the wipers brushed a slow, steady rhythm, 1-2, 1-2, like a heartbeat that was trying to stay calm. I sat in the car outside the house, engine idling low, radio off, staring at the front door like it might confess before she did. Heather wasn't home yet. Of course she wasn't. She said it was the annual firm gathering, cocktails, suits, a fake smile parade with catered shrimp and bad jazz. She didn't know I'd followed her there. She never even considered I'd be the one waiting. When she left the house that evening, she didn't say goodbye. She didn't even look at me. Just sprayed something floral on her neck and walked out like she had a plane to catch. The door didn't close, it snapped, like a punctuation mark on the silence she'd been offering me for weeks. Maybe months. I watched from the kitchen window as she slid into the Uber. Dress too tight for corporate mingling. Heels too high for a casual Friday. She used to wear those heels on our anniversaries. She hadn't worn them for me in over a year. I didn't plan to follow her. It just happened. I took the truck. Drove slow. Stayed a few cars back. I told myself it was crazy, paranoid, don't be that guy. But something inside had already cracked, and once the first crack appears, it all eventually splits open. I parked across from the Marriott where the party was supposedly held. Sure enough, I saw her, laughing before she even hit the lobby. He met her at the door. Tall, confident, white button-up that looked like it had been ironed by someone who cared. He touched her lower back like it was his. And she let him. You don't forget that sort of image. Doesn't matter how strong you think you are. There's something about seeing the person you loved, the one you still love, act like someone else's home that empties your lungs. You forget how to breathe. You forget everything. I didn't go inside. I didn't need to. They went upstairs before the hour was up. I waited. I sat in that truck and stared at the hotel's spinning glass doors, headlights off, hands clenched around the steering wheel like it was the only thing keeping me from falling apart. I stayed until it was late enough to look pathetic, then drove back home with nothing but the sound of the tires humming along the asphalt. She came in at 12:47 a.m. Keys jingling. Purse slung lazily over her shoulder. Makeup slightly smeared, but only in the corners. Like she'd touched it up, then cried just a little. Maybe she rehearsed that look in the mirror of room 618. I was in the living room, lights low, just waiting. She stopped cold when she saw me. I didn't say anything. I didn't have to. Her eyes darted to the floor, then to my face. She tried to smile, tried to twist her lips into that same tired curve she used whenever she lied about staying late. I almost laughed. Then she said it. You're up late. 3 words. That's all. No panic. No stammer. No apology. Just, you're up late. Like I was the problem. I stood. My legs were stiff, heart loud in my ears. I opened my mouth and nothing came out at first. Then I finally asked, quietly, who is he? Her lips parted. She blinked. She didn't even try to pretend she didn't know who I meant. What are you talking about? She replied, breathless. Like I was accusing her of forgetting to buy milk. I stepped forward and her hand instinctively gripped the purse strap tighter. I was at the hotel, I said. I saw him meet you. I saw you go upstairs. That's when the mask cracked. Her breath hitched. A full second passed. Maybe 2. Then the tears came fast, dramatic, but somehow hollow. You followed me? She said it like I betrayed her. Not I'm sorry. Not let me explain. Just that. Accusation sharp enough to cut. And just like that, she flipped it, classic Heather, turning the flashlight back on me, making herself the victim before I could even start to bleed. I didn't respond. I just stared. And she couldn't hold eye contact. The silence grew unbearable. She backed toward the stairs. Said something like, I can't do this right now, and tried to vanish into the hallway like I was some ghost haunting her evening. But I followed her. Slowly. Wordless. I wasn't angry. I was emptied out. The kind of hollow you don't come back from in a day. Or maybe ever. She made it halfway up the stairs before I said anything else. Just 2 words. Tell me. She stopped. 1 foot on the step above the other, her whole body angled away from me like she could outrun what was coming. Her back rose and fell, and for a moment I thought she might actually turn around and talk to me like a human being. But she didn't. She just kept walking slow, like she was trying to buy time she'd already spent. I followed. Not rushed. Not yelling. Just step by step, letting the weight of the silence press against the walls. She got to the bedroom and tried to shut the door, but I caught it with one hand. She didn't fight me. She just let go and walked to the dresser like we were about to have a normal argument. Like this was about bills or dishes or laundry left in the machine too long. You were spying on me, She asked, turning to face me with that same worn-out contempt she used whenever I tried to talk about how cold she'd become. I was watching you cheat on me, I said. Calm. Flat. Don't try to twist this. That landed. Her face twitched like I'd thrown something. But she recovered fast. Too fast. You think following me around and stalking me is okay? That's healthy to you. You lied. I didn't lie, she shot back, instantly defensive. I just didn't tell you everything. That's what she said. Like hiding a whole other man was on par with forgetting to mention what she had for lunch. Her tone wasn't sad or ashamed. It was annoyed. Like I was inconveniencing her by knowing. She sat down on the edge of the bed and crossed her legs. Didn't even try to fake remorse. You haven't exactly been a picnic lately either, she muttered. You just sit around acting like everything's fine, but you haven't touched me in months. You don't ask how I'm doing. You don't see me. I blinked. That's what she went with. Like I drove her to another man by not being chipper enough after work. Like I'd failed at some invisible checklist and this betrayal was just the logical result. I walked to the window and stared out. I couldn't even look at her. You could have left me, I said quietly. You could have had the dignity to just end it. Oh, so now you're the noble one? She scoffed behind me. You never see what you do wrong. It's always about how I'm the monster. And there it was. No apology. No regret. Just more twisting, more smoke in the air. She was good at that. Heather could spin a story so fast you'd forget which side of it you were on. She'd built a kingdom out of half-truths and gaslight, and I'd lived in it for years without even noticing the cracks. But tonight, I wasn't blind anymore. You're not sorry, are you? I asked. She didn't answer. Just looked away, jaw clenched. I sat down in the chair by the closet, arms resting on my knees. I didn't speak for a full minute. Neither did she. Then she said it didn't mean anything. I laughed once. Just once. That kind of sharp, humorless laugh that doesn't come from your throat, it comes from somewhere bitter, somewhere that's been waiting. Then why did you keep going back? Her silence told me everything. And yet somehow she still had the gall to look bored. Like I was dragging this out. Finally she stood. Smoothed her dress. Said, I'm tired. Can we talk about this tomorrow? I looked up at her. No. She rolled her eyes. Of course. Because it's always about what you want when you're hurt. And with that she walked into the bathroom and shut the door. No lock. No slam. Just a casual, we're done here. And I sat there, staring at the closed door, thinking how the worst part wasn't that she cheated. It was how little she cared that I knew. The door to the bathroom didn't open for almost 15 minutes. I heard the faucet run, the occasional shuffle of her feet. Maybe she was wiping off his cologne. Maybe she was rehearsing new lies. I sat still the whole time, trying to wrap my head around the fact that someone could throw away everything and act like it was just a scratch on the paint. When she came out, she'd changed into her sleep shirt, one of mine, ironically. Hair tied up. Face washed clean of everything, including guilt. She looked at me like she expected the world to reset. Heather, I said, before she could pass me, how long? She didn't stop moving. Just walked toward her side of the bed. Why does it matter? She said flatly, pulling back the sheets. I stood, something in me twitching like a pulled wire. It matters. She paused. Sighed. It's been a few months. That wasn't a slip. That wasn't her trying to soften the blow. That was her admitting it the way someone might confess to leaving a window open during a storm. No real emotion. No wait. How many times? I asked. She sat down. God, I don't know, Tyler. I wasn't counting. I stared at her. You weren't counting. No, she snapped, voice finally rising. Because I wasn't treating it like some project I had to track. It wasn't about love or replacing you, okay? It was just different. 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 Like that word was supposed to make any of this hurt less. I laughed, cold and quiet. So what now? You just sleep beside me every night, knowing you're sneaking out to him. That's not fair, she barked, turning to face me fully now. You have no idea what it's like feeling invisible every day. Coming home to someone who barely notices if you're in the room. I took a step closer. So you thought disappearing into someone else would fix that? I needed to feel wanted, Tyler. Her voice cracked. Not out of sadness, but fury. Fury that she was being made to explain herself. That's who Heather was underneath all of it. A woman who wanted to do what she wanted and never be held accountable for what came after. I looked at her, really looked, and realized I didn't recognize her anymore. The woman I fell in love with used to cry at Pixar movies and hide notes in my lunch when I had interviews. The woman in front of me now? She was steel. Cold. Smug. So far gone she didn't even remember who she used to be. Did you love him? I asked. She rolled her eyes so hard I thought they might stick. No. God. Chris is a child. It wasn't that deep. I flinched at his name. She'd never said it out loud before. Hearing it now felt like watching her paint over our memories in real time. But you slept with him. She didn't even blink. Yeah, she said, almost with a shrug. I did. That was the moment something broke in me. Not dramatically. Not with tears or yelling. Just quietly, like a shelf collapsing in the other room. The kind of break that leaves dust floating in the air long after the sound fades. She stood and walked to the dresser. Grabbed her phone. Started scrolling. I was still standing there, stunned, and she had the audacity to look bored. Like this whole thing was beneath her. I'm not doing this all night, she muttered. We can talk in the morning when you're not being so emotional. That's what she said. When you're not being so emotional. As if I was a child throwing a tantrum. As if catching your wife cheating was something you were supposed to handle like a conference call. She walked out of the room, phone in hand, probably texting him. Probably calling him the second she hit the living room. Maybe they had a little code word for it. Maybe stormy night meant I was home and pissed. I didn't follow her this time. I sat back down. And for the first time since all this started, I asked myself a question I hadn't dared ask until now. What if she never actually loved me at all? The silence that followed her exit was heavy, like the house itself had swallowed its breath, waiting to see what I'd do. I didn't move for a long time. Just sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the spot where she'd been seconds before. You'd think something that final, that loud in your soul, would come with an explosion. But there was nothing. No rage. No crashing picture frames. Just that awful, choking stillness. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. She'd forgotten it. It was face up. Lit. Chris, did he say anything? You okay? I didn't touch it. I didn't need to. The words were enough. The casualness of it. Like I was just a box to be ticked off. Like this entire breakdown of trust, of vows, of 6 goddamn years was just another inconvenient Tuesday. And I knew what came next. She'd be back in a minute, realize her mistake, grab the phone with some excuse already queued up in her head. I was just telling him it's over. He was worried about work tomorrow. We're just friends now, I swear. I couldn't sit there and let her script my forgiveness before I'd even decided to speak. So I got up. Walked out of the room. Down the hallway. The living room was dim, lit only by the TV flickering on mute and the soft glow of her laptop open on the coffee table. She was curled in the corner of the couch, legs tucked under her, scrolling through Instagram. Her face was blank. Relaxed. Not like someone who'd just been exposed, more like someone who believed this would all blow over by morning. I said her name. Quietly. Just once. She looked up slow. Like I was the interruption, not the storm. You forgot your phone, I said, and held it out. Her face didn't even twitch. She stood, walked over, took it from my hand like we were exchanging keys, not proof of betrayal. You read it, she asked. I shook my head. Didn't need to. She nodded once. No apology. No fear. Just calm. She didn't ask if I was okay. Didn't reach out. Didn't say a word. And then she said something I'll never forget. You were going to find out eventually. Maybe this is better. 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 My fists clenched at my sides. Not because I was going to use them, but because if I didn't clench, I might have fallen apart completely. Is this what you wanted? I asked. Me catching you? You being able to blame me for knowing? Her face twisted like I'd accused her of some wild conspiracy. Don't do that. Don't act like I wanted this. I didn't plan for it to happen. It just did. It just did. I repeated. You didn't trip and land on him, Heather. You made choices. Repeatedly. God, you're so dramatic, she said, stepping back. You think I'm some kind of monster now? You think I haven't been hurting too? That did it. I laughed. A dry, bitter sound that didn't reach my eyes. You've been hurting, I repeated. While sneaking around, lying, gaslighting me, and crawling into bed with someone else. And now you want me to feel for you. She looked away. And for a second, there it was. Not regret, but something smaller. Fragile. Maybe she finally saw what she'd done. Or maybe she just realized she couldn't spin it anymore. I don't want to fight, she said. I'm not fighting, I replied. I'm done fighting. You just don't know what it looks like when someone stops. The words hit her harder than anything else had all night. Her mouth opened slightly. No words came. She reached for the remote. Turned off the TV. So what now? I didn't answer. Not immediately. I just looked at her like I was seeing a stranger standing in the ruins of my life. I don't know yet, I finally said. But you're not sleeping here tonight. Her eyes widened. You're kicking me out? I nodded. Go to your friend's place. Go to his place for all I care. But I need space. She didn't argue. She didn't beg. She just grabbed her coat, her laptop, and her purse. And just before walking out the door, she turned and said, "You're making a mistake." I didn't respond. The door clicked shut behind her. And I stood there, in the stillness she left behind, wondering how someone could be so good at faking love that it took 6 years to notice it was hollow. I didn't sleep that night. Not even a little. I sat in the kitchen, staring at the clock on the microwave as the numbers glowed their indifferent march toward morning. 2:03, 3:27. For 41, every time I closed my eyes, I saw them. Not just her and Chris in a hotel room. No, it was worse than that. I saw her laughing with him, tucking her hair behind her ear the way she used to with me, giving him that side glance she always used when she wanted someone to chase her. That was the part that gutted me. It wasn't physical. It was her. The way she gave away the pieces I thought were mine. By the time the sun came up, the house felt too quiet. I walked from room to room like I might trip over some remaining shred of the life we'd built, some photograph, some echo, some excuse to believe any of it had been real. But the silence stayed. Loud, heavy, final. Her drawer was still full. Toothbrush still in the holder. Makeup bag still under the sink like she'd be back before lunch. But I knew better now. Around 7:10, my phone rang. It was Aaron, my brother. I hadn't told anyone yet. Didn't want the words out in the world. Saying it made it real. But I answered. "Hey," I said, voice hollow. "You sound like hell," he said. "I feel worse." Pause. What happened? And just like that, it spilled. Not in order. Not with logic. Just a flood of words. The party. The elevator. Her shrugging. Her saying it didn't mean anything. Every little cut she'd made over the past year that I hadn't noticed until now, all bleeding at once. Aaron didn't interrupt. He just listened. Until I stopped talking. And then he said, "Ty, come stay with me for a bit." I almost said no. Reflex. I didn't want to run. I wanted to make her leave. Make her feel what it's like to be unwelcome in your own life. But I didn't even have the strength to stand up anymore. "Yeah," I said finally. "Okay." I packed light. A bag. Some clothes. Left everything else where it was. I didn't touch her stuff. Didn't write a note. I just locked the door behind me, got in the truck, and drove away from the house I thought I'd grow old in. She didn't call. Didn't text. Not that morning. Not that night. Not the next day. And maybe that's what finally made it real. She didn't chase me. After 6 years, after all the things we said, all the things I forgave, she just let it go. Like I was a job she'd finished. A season she'd outgrown. I kept waiting for the knock on Aaron's door. For the phone to light up. For an "I'm sorry" that never came. Instead, on day 3, she sent a text. Just 5 words. "I'll come get my things." "No, can we talk?" "No, I miss you." Just logistics. I didn't answer. I left the key in the mailbox and told Aaron I needed some air. Drove around for hours. Past the park where I proposed. Past the bar where we had our first fight and ended up laughing in the rain like idiots. Past the stupid apartment with the leaky windows where we started our life. Everywhere we'd ever been, I passed it all. And not once did I think, maybe we can fix this. Because there was nothing left to fix. She didn't just cheat. She dismantled us piece by piece and then had the audacity to act like I broke it by caring too loudly. That night, Aaron and I sat in the garage, drinking warm beer and listening to Springsteen like we were 20 again. I told him everything. And he said, "You were loyal to someone who used your love like it was disposable. That's not on you." I didn't cry. I wanted to. But the tears never came. Because Heather didn't just kill the marriage. She made sure I was numb before she pulled the trigger. She showed up 5 days later. Not a call. Not a text. Just the sound of a car door closing in front of the house I hadn't stepped foot in since I left. Aaron was at work. I was home alone, halfway through reheating leftover Chinese when I glanced out the window and saw her standing there. Same black coat she wore the night she left. No makeup. Hair in a loose braid like she wanted to look casual, like she hadn't obliterated everything and was just here for a quick errand. I opened the garage door but didn't step outside. Just leaned in the frame and watched her walk up like she had a right to. "Where's the key?" she asked, tone flat. Like we were neighbors, not ex-lovers. "In the mailbox," I said. She nodded. No eye contact. She walked past me. I didn't move. 15 minutes later, she came out with 2 duffel bags. Her face was unreadable. Not cold, but not sad either. That weird middle ground where people hide when they know they should feel guilty but don't. It's safer to look blank. It makes it easier not to explain anything. She turned to me as she reached the driveway. "This isn't how I wanted things to end," she said. I scoffed before I could stop myself. "Yeah? How do you imagine it, Heather?" Me crying on the floor while you wish things were different and drive off into the sunset with your finance intern. Her jaw clenched. That's not fair. Oh no, I said, stepping off the concrete. Because what is fair, exactly? Sneaking around with a guy half your maturity level and lying to my face every night. I didn't lie. Don't finish that sentence. She didn't. I took a breath, steadying myself. You had every chance to tell me the truth. Every night you came home. Every time I asked what was wrong. You had 100 doors to walk through that weren't betrayal, and you chose the worst one. She looked down at the pavement, shifted her weight. I could see the excuses forming behind her lips, coiling, waiting to strike. You stopped being present, she said quietly. You shut down. You didn't see me anymore. There it was. Her shield. You think that gives you the right to humiliate me? I asked. To turn your distance into a justification for this? I didn't plan for it to happen, she repeated. And that's when something in me snapped, not loud, not violent, just clean. A thread cut. You didn't plan for it, I echoed. Heather, you dressed up. You lied to my face. You made a man feel like he had a place in our marriage bed even if it wasn't literally ours. You planned every step. She didn't flinch. She just stood there. Like she'd already rewritten this scene in her head and I wasn't reading the lines right. Then she said it. I'm sorry you feel that way. I laughed. Bitter, deep. Of course. There it is. The non-apology of the year. Her face tightened. I didn't come here to fight. No, I said, stepping back. You came to collect your mess in a bag and disappear. And you want me to make it easy. I want to move on, she said simply. I stared at her. The honesty of it was almost refreshing. You already have. She didn't deny it. And that hurt more than anything. I watched her walk back to her car. She opened the trunk, tossed the bags in like luggage on a bad vacation, and turned one last time. If you ever want to talk, she said, I'll be around. I nodded once. Not because I meant it, but because I wanted her to leave. She drove off. No wave. No second glance. Just taillights disappearing down the road like nothing had happened. Like I hadn't been her home. Her safety. Her husband. I went back inside. The food was cold. I didn't bother reheating it. I sat on the couch in Erin's garage with a beer in one hand and her echo in my head, and all I could think was She walked away like she didn't owe anyone a damn thing. The day after she came to take her things, it finally hit me how empty everything felt now that the pretending was over. The house wasn't just missing her. It was missing who I thought she was. There's a difference. I wasn't grieving a wife, I was grieving the version of her I believed in. And once that illusion shattered, what was left wasn't sorrow. It was disorientation. Like waking up in a stranger's bed and realizing it used to be yours. Erin found me staring at a wall in the garage, a full coffee gone cold in my hand. He didn't say much. Just tossed me a hoodie and said, let's get out for a bit. We ended up at this diner we used to go to when we were kids. Waffle House knockoff. Vinyl booths, grease in the air, waitresses who remembered your order if you tipped decent. I hadn't eaten properly in days. I wasn't even hungry. But I needed to feel normal. Grounded. We sat in a booth near the back. Same spot Heather and I once sat at when we were house hunting years ago, back when she used to wear my flannel and sketch floor plans on napkins. The same booth where she once looked at me and said, I just want to build something real with you. I almost laughed at the memory. Not because it was funny, because it felt like a line from a movie I misremembered. Who is that person? I told Erin that. He didn't sugarcoat anything. Ty, she's a manipulator. She made you feel like everything was your fault even when she was the one digging the hole. That's not love. That's power. He was right. The more I replayed our last few months together, the clearer it became. Heather didn't just fall out of love. She engineered her exit. She started arguments she knew I couldn't win. She shut me out so she could say I'd never been there. She stopped sharing her day, her thoughts, her touch so she could justify giving it to someone else. She made me the villain in a story she didn't have the courage to end honestly. Back at the house that night, I opened our closet. Her side was half empty now. Hangers bent out of shape. A faint perfume still clung to the fabric of a scarf she left behind. I don't know why I did it, but I grabbed a box and started filling it. The rest of her books. Some jewelry. Cards she never took. I didn't do it in anger, I did it because I wanted the space back. But tucked in the back corner of the top shelf was something I hadn't seen in years, the little photo booth strip we took at that beach fair on our first anniversary. She had cotton candy in her teeth. I was sunburned. We looked happy. Not Instagram happy. Real happy. Two idiots in love. I stared at that strip of photos for a long time. Then I threw it in the box too. Later, I got a text from an unknown number. Hey, heard about you and Heather. Just wanted to say sorry, man. She's got a reputation now. No name. But I had a good guess. Someone from her work. Maybe someone who knew Chris. Or someone who watched the whole thing unfold like a soap opera over catered lunches. I didn't respond. I just stared at the message until the screen went dark. A reputation. Now she had one. How many people had seen it coming before I did? How many whispered behind their hands, wondering how long it would take for the truth to surface? I remember thinking once that if she ever cheated, I'd burn the world down. I'd scream. I'd beg. I'd fall apart. But the truth? When betrayal finally knocks, it doesn't come with fireworks. It comes with silence. With numbness. With the realization that the person you gave everything to gave you nothing real in return. And somehow you're the one left cleaning up the mess they made like it's your job. I didn't return to the house for over a week. Every time I thought about it, my stomach turned. It wasn't just the memories, it was the weight of her still lingering in the corners. The smell of her shampoo in the bathroom, the echo of her voice in the hallway, the emptiness in the bed where she used to sleep without touching me. That house had become a crime scene without blood. Everything had been stolen, my trust, my peace, my sense of reality, but nothing looked broken. It made me sick. So I stayed at Aaron's. Slept on a fold-out that made my back ache and my dreams worse. I kept telling myself I'd feel better in the morning. That the fog would lift. That one day I'd wake up and not see her in every thought. But grief doesn't move that way. It waits. Lurks. Pretends it's gone until you breathe too deep or hear a song in a gas station that played in the background the first time she said, "I love you." And then it hits like a truck. It was the middle of the week when she reached out again. A text. No greeting. Just, "I think we should talk in person. Please." I stared at it for a full hour. Aaron saw me reading it. He didn't say anything at first, just handed me a beer and sat down next to me like we were teenagers again. Then he said, "You already know what she's going to say." I nodded. Yeah. She's going to spin it. She's going to make it about her pain, about how confused she was, and how maybe this is all both our faults. He raised his eyebrows. And I don't want to hear it. But I know I'm going to. So we met. Neutral ground. Some small park with a walking trail and a wooden bench by a frozen pond. She was already there when I arrived, sitting stiff, hands tucked into her coat sleeves. She stood when she saw me, too fast, too eager, like she wanted to prove something. "Thanks for coming," she said. I nodded once. Didn't sit. She looked different. Not sad. Not confident. Just exposed. Like being away from the safety of denial had peeled something back. "I've been thinking a lot," she started. "About everything. About us." I didn't answer. She went on. "I made mistakes. Big ones. And I know sorry doesn't fix them, but I need you to hear that I am sorry. I didn't know how to talk to you anymore. I didn't know how to tell you I was slipping." "You didn't try," I said. She blinked. "I didn't know how." "No," I corrected. "You didn't want to." She closed her eyes for a second. Inhaled slow. "I was angry. At you. At myself. At the life we'd built. Felt heavy. Like I was watching it from the outside. And then Chris started showing interest and I held up a hand. Don't say his name. I don't want to hear anything about what you felt for him." She nodded quickly. "Okay. I need you to know it wasn't about him. It was about me. About feeling like I didn't matter anymore. Like I was just going through the motions." "Then leave," I said. "You don't cheat because you feel stuck. You leave." She looked down. "I know that now." "No," I snapped. "You knew it then. You just didn't care." Silence. She finally sat. Shoulders curled in. The Heather I knew, the sharp-tongued, unapologetic force, was gone. In her place was someone I didn't recognize. Smaller, quieter, but still not enough to make me forget the damage. She looked up, voice lower. "Do you think there's a chance, eventually, that we could talk again? Like really talk?" And it hit me then. She wasn't asking for forgiveness. She was asking for hope. A thread. A maybe. A future she hadn't earned. "No," I said, not cruel, just honest. "There's no way back from this. You don't come back from betrayal." She nodded. Bit her lip. "I'll always care about you," she whispered. I shook my head. "You cared about control. That's not the same." She looked away. A bird chirped in the distance, stupid and out of place. "I'm not the villain you think I am," she said. I laughed once, cold and sharp. "Heather, you're not the villain. You're worse. "You're a coward." She didn't respond. And for the first time in all of this, I didn't feel like the broken one. I walked away while she was still sitting there, trying to think of something to say that would let her live with what she did. I never looked back. It had been 2 months. 60 days since the night she came home smelling like somebody else's life. Since the hotel. Since the confrontation. Since the hollow look in her eyes confirmed what I hadn't wanted to admit, that she wasn't coming back. Not really. She might have stayed in the house, but Heather had left a long time ago. I hadn't seen her since the park. She didn't text after that. Didn't call. No late-night breakdowns, no drunk voicemails, no desperate emails at 2 a.m. begging me to reconsider. Nothing. And that silence told me everything I needed to know. She didn't fight for me. Not once. In the beginning, that hurt worse than the cheating. I kept thinking, if I meant anything, wouldn't she be trying? Wouldn't she show up at the door, crying, saying she made a mistake? But now I understood. She didn't come back because she didn't lose me. She lost the version of me who tolerated her distance. The one who let things slide. Who chalked up her cruelty to stress. Who loved her so much he forgot to require respect in return. That version of me was gone. And without him, she had no interest in what remained. I started picking up the pieces of myself slowly. I went back to the gym. Not for revenge or for some movie-style glow-up, but because I needed to feel something in my body that wasn't grief. I started cooking again. Real meals, not just takeout and empty calories. I stopped checking her social media. Blocked her number. I even changed my email. Burned every digital bridge. But the house was harder. I didn't sell it. Not yet. I went back once. Just to walk through. Alone. It was like stepping into a museum curated by someone I didn't trust. Everything staged. Every detail a reminder of who we pretended to be. The bed was still made like we were sharing it. Her ghost sat at the dining table, sipping coffee and scrolling through texts she never let me see. But then I opened the hall closet, and I found something she left behind. A shoebox. Inside, tucked between old receipts and tangled headphones, was a folded piece of notebook paper. My handwriting. A letter I wrote her 3 years ago on her birthday. I had forgotten I even wrote it. It was cheesy. Full of lines like, "I'm lucky you chose me," and "You're my favorite place to come home to." She'd kept it. That should have meant something. Didn't. Because somewhere along the way she stopped choosing me. Quietly. Repeatedly. Every single day she smiled in my face and disappeared behind my back. She was choosing something else. Someone else. And I finally saw it for what it was. She didn't keep that letter because it meant something. She kept it because she liked the version of herself it described. Loved. Adored. Innocent. But she wasn't that woman. Not anymore. Maybe not ever. So I left it there in the box. Didn't throw it away. Didn't take it with me. Just shut the lid and walked out. Because some memories aren't worth carrying. They're worth burying. I locked up behind me. Took one last look at the door. And this time, the heaviness in my chest wasn't from losing her. It was the weight of starting over. It's been 4 months now. Long enough that her name doesn't sting when it shows up in conversation, short enough that I still feel the ache when I drive past the street where we used to live. Healing is strange like that. You don't move on, you just get better at carrying the bruise. The hardest part wasn't the betrayal. It wasn't the lies or the hotel room or the way she made me feel like a stranger in my own marriage. It was learning how much of myself I'd handed over piece by piece without asking anything in return. She didn't steal my trust. I gave it freely. And she burned it like it was nothing. But here's the truth I didn't see back then. Heather didn't break me. She revealed me. The man I was when I met her, he was eager to love, eager to please, terrified of losing something just because he loved it. I used to think that was strength. Loyalty. But loyalty without boundaries is a weapon you turn on yourself. And that's what I did over and over. I ignored the signs. I silenced my gut. I let her speak over my doubt, rewrite my reality, and convince me that her coldness was just stress. I lived in the quiet decay of that marriage, convincing myself that love meant enduring. But love isn't supposed to feel like erosion. I know that now. Last week, I finally put the house up for sale. It was easier than I expected. Like shedding a coat that no longer fit. The agent asked if I wanted to take any last pictures and I almost laughed. Pictures of what? Of the dining room where I ate alone while she texted him under the table? Of the bed we shared in body but not spirit? No. Some things don't deserve to be memorialized. I'm renting a place now. Smaller, quieter. Just me and a couple of mismatched pieces of furniture. There's a coffee stain on the counter and the faucet drips sometimes, but it's mine. It's honest. It doesn't pretend to be anything it's not. And that's more peace than I've had in years. People keep asking if I'll date again. If I'll put myself back out there. I don't have a real answer. Right now, I'm putting myself back together. And that's more important. To anyone reading this who's been there, who's loved someone who hollowed you out and called it connection, let me say this. You are not crazy. You are not weak for staying. You are not broken for hurting. And most importantly, you are not hard to love. You were just giving it to the wrong person. Heather made her choices. And I made mine. I chose to walk away with my self-respect intact. I chose to leave her in the rearview where ghosts belong. I chose to build something new from the wreckage. And now? Now I'm finally free. Free from her. Free from the story she tried to write me into. Free to be me without apology, without explanation. That's the ending. That's the beginning.